like super happy because like it was a tough match. So yeah, there were really tough moments where she was playing well.
Hindi ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin.
You mentioned that you only turned 20, so obviously you have a long way to go. But if by some chance the 12-year-old version of you could realize what was about to happen the next 8 years, how do you think that little girl would have reacted?
Wow. I think she would just be so happy. Because at 12, I was really already training a lot. Every day I was on the court and I really loved it. And I think deep down she knew that, one day all of this would happen, but to be able to experience it for real and see all of it come to life is very full circle and very emotional.
Picture this. You're 20 years old, standing in front of cameras, broadcasting to millions, and you've got a secret that's eating you alive. Your parents are drowning in debt because they bet everything on you. And if you fail, your entire family goes down with you. Now imagine the world watching as you finally break down and confess it all. This is that story. The video cameras were capturing everything. The sound equipment was live, the globe was tuned in. But rather than the typical mechanical athlete responses, rather than the rehearsed grins and the publicity-coached platitudes, Alexandra Eala, the shining star of the Philippines, fractured right there before everybody. The 20-year-old phenomenon brushed away moisture from her eyes and allowed the reality to pour forth. "My folks gave up so much," she murmured, her tone quivering with a burden that no young competitor should ever need to bear. "They even secured financing, enormous obligations, simply so I could chase my calling. Now that I've transformed into the support beam of my household, I desire to reimburse everything, particularly for my sibling." Bang! In a single statement, the veil was yanked away. The sparkle, the allure, the Nike partnerships, and the Rafa Nadal Academy distinction, it all dissolved away to expose the unfiltered, vulnerable reality. This wasn't merely a competition of tennis, this was a wager, a high-risk, life-or-death monetary gamble undertaken by a household who staked the residence, quite literally, on the left limb of a teenage young woman. And then arrived the reaction that devastated everyone. Her sibling, Miko Eala, her guardian, her practice companion, her constant presence, transmitted a communication through his own moisture that transformed the complete story. Welcome to Champions Tennis. Today, we aren't merely discussing forehands and backhands. We're plunging deeply into the unrevealed, heart-shattering chronicle of the Eala household. We're revealing the harsh actuality of the financing she referenced, the concealed injury controversy that her trainer just disclosed, the $1 million compensation that ultimately materialized in 2025, and the frightening check curse that threatens to sabotage her right now as she battles through the Middle Eastern competition circuit. Strap in. This is the chronicle of how a young woman transformed into a support beam and how a sibling transformed into her silent champion. To comprehend the moisture in her eyes, you need to comprehend the cost. In the Philippines, Alex Eala is handled like nobility. She's the monarch of the arena, the successor to a tennis throne that had remained vacant for generations. But let's slice through the storybook nonsense for a moment and examine the frigid hard currency. Tennis isn't a working-class person's activity. It's an activity engineered to drain bank accounts empty, to distinguish the hopeful from the affluent, to make guardians select between their home payment and their offspring's aspiration. When Alex was recognized as a gifted talent at a tender age, the Eala household, Mike and Riza, confronted a decision. Do they maintain her domestic, protected and cozy, competing on Manila arenas against territorial opposition? Or do they hurl her into the predator pool of Europe, where victors are molded in the flames of the most unforgiving junior competitions in the globe? They selected the predator pool. They dispatched her to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor, Spain. Now, let's be honest, the Rafa Nadal Academy isn't a recreational facility where youngsters learn to strike a few spheres and consume paella. It's a manufacturing plant for victors, indeed, but it arrives with a bill that would make a corporate executive perspire. We're discussing tens of thousands of euros annually just for the academy charges. Then include flights from Manila to Spain Spain numerous occasions yearly, lodging for competitions across Europe, elite equipment that demands constant substitution, physical therapy appointments, sports mental health services, dietary specialists, power and fitness trainers. The catalog continues endlessly. When Alex released that revelation about financing, she wasn't communicating figuratively. She wasn't inflating for theatrical impact. Sources near to the household suggest that for years, the Eala residence functioned on a razor's boundary. Every aircraft ticket to a junior Grand Slam wasn't merely a journey, it was a venture with a horrifyingly uncertain profit. If Alex sustained damage, if she burned herself out like so many adolescent prodigies before her, if she simply wasn't skilled enough to penetrate the top 100, the obligation would persist, sitting there like a creature in the storage space. But the aspiration would perish. The household would be left with nothing except recollections and monthly installments that could extend for years. Picture stepping onto the arena at 15 years of age, racket in palm, understanding that your guardian's financial rating is depending on your forehand down the boundary, that your household's monetary future relies on whether you can handle the strain of a decisive game at 3-all in the third segment. That's the pressure chamber that molded Alexandria. She wasn't merely competing for awards and positioning digits. She was competing for financial stability. She was competing so her guardians could sleep at night. She was competing so the lending institution wouldn't come demanding. Every point held meaning. Every contest was critical. This wasn't athletics. This was endurance. But if Alex is the support beam, who is the base? Who supported the base while she was being constructed into that support beam? Enter Miko Eala. Miko is the elder sibling, and in numerous athletic households, the elder sibling is the dominant one. He's the individual who is expected to achieve. He's the one the resources are invested into first, the one who gets the private tutoring and the contest registrations. But Miko accomplished something remarkable. He stepped back. He observed something in his younger sibling, some illumination, some desire, some talent that surpassed his own substantial abilities, and he executed the most difficult determination an athlete can execute. He forfeited his own aspirations so hers could soar. Miko is a powerhouse in his own Kapatanks, a Division I standout for Penn State University, a Big Ten competitor of the week, a person with a devastating serve and a skill set that could have taken him considerably far on the professional contest tour if he'd chosen that direction. But he observed the light in his younger sibling. There's a resurfaced recording circulating digitally, maybe you've observed it, of Miko pushing Alex in a mobility chair after a punishing training appointment years prior. She's absolutely depleted, head drooping to the flank, and he's just quietly rolling her back to recovery. No video cameras, no publicity, just a sibling being a sibling. That visual says everything. He wasn't jealous, he wasn't resentful that the financing was primarily for her academy charges in Spain, while he toiled in the U.S. university structure. He was her motor, her base, her anchor. When Alex cried in that interview, mentioning she wanted to repay her sibling, it hinted at a silent forfeiture Miko made that most people will never fully comprehend. Did he restrain his own professional ambitions to ensure the household resources went to Alex first? Did he intentionally choose the safer path of U.S. university funding to reduce the financial strain on Mike and Riza, freeing up financial resources for Alex? The evidence points yes. The communication he sent her after her emotional collapse was straightforward yet devastatingly magnificent. He didn't ask for the money, he didn't ask for recognition or fame or his part of the attention. He simply told her, and I'm summarizing because the exact words were private, but the emotion was transparent. You owe us nothing because you provided us everything simply by battling. But Alex doesn't see it that way. For her, the debt is real, the obligation is sacred, and the payment comes now. Fortunately for the Eala family, 2025 was the year the bank balance finally caught up with the talent. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the story transitions from a disaster to a heist narrative, from a tale of debt to a tale of victory. Entering 2025, Alex Eala's professional earnings were sitting at around $455,000. That sounds substantial to ordinary people working ordinary jobs, but in the tennis world, after taxes, coaching fees that can run 20 to 30% of earnings, travel costs that accumulate faster than you can say frequent flyer miles, and elite equipment that demands constant substitution, physical therapy appointments, sports mental health services, dietary specialists, power and fitness trainers, the catalog continues endlessly. When Alex released that revelation about financing, she wasn't communicating figuratively. She wasn't inflating for theatrical impact. Sources near to the household suggest that for years, the Eala residence functioned on a razor's boundary. Every aircraft ticket to a junior Grand Slam wasn't merely a journey, it was a venture with a horrifyingly uncertain profit. If Alex sustained damage, if she burned herself out like so many adolescent prodigies before her, if she simply wasn't skilled enough to penetrate the top 100, the obligation would persist, sitting there like a creature in the storage space. But the aspiration would perish. The household would be left with nothing except recollections and monthly installments that could extend for years. Picture stepping onto the arena at 15 years of age, racket in palm, understanding that your guardian's financial rating is depending on your forehand down the boundary, that your household's monetary future relies on whether you can handle the strain of a decisive game at 3-all in the third segment. That's the pressure chamber that molded Alexandria. She wasn't merely competing for awards and positioning digits. She was competing for financial stability. She was competing so her guardians could sleep at night. She was competing so the lending institution wouldn't come demanding. Every point held meaning. Every